Yeah, hello Africa. Good evening, and you're welcome to another edition of Bètá Convo. Now I'm your host, Yomi Omogbeja from Athletics Africa. And for this evening, we have another guest for you. His name is Derrick Mokaleng. He's a South African sprinter, 200 meters and 400 meters runner, studying at the Texas Christian University in the United States of America. So we have Derrick as a guest today, and he'll be telling you more about himself in a short while. Stay with us. Hello, Derrick. You're welcome to Bètá Convo.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Good. It's good to see your face.
Same here.
So this show basically is what we created COVID-19 disruptions, and also how it had affected their training and basically what they're up to, you know. So if you're gonna start with this, I'm gonna ask you to tell us and tell the fans in Africa, who is Derrick Mokaleng?
Okay, so Derrick Mokaleng, I think the best way to describe myself is that I'm a South African student athlete. I've been running all my life since the age of 7. My father got me into running. I started with cross country. And then as I left primary school into high school, I started focusing more on track and field. Um, and at the end of high school, I got a scholarship to come study at TCU. But I had to do 1 year at the University of Johannesburg in 2016. Then 2017, that's when I came to TCU. But if I had to describe myself, I would just say I'm a shy, quiet type of guy. I have goals. I have big goals for myself, such as the Olympics. And I want to make my dad proud, my mom proud, my family proud, because everyone back home in South Africa, they're looking at me. They always call me, telling me that they're inspired by me. So I feel like I have this role to play in terms of like achieving my goals, setting high standards so that I achieve those goals, and at the same time make sure that those that come behind me can also have the confidence and like the inspiration to also achieve that. So yeah.
Oh, actually good. I remember in 2016 you were at the under 20, right? In
Yes.
Poland.
Poland,
So,
yes.
and then after that, you did created a page to fund your scholarship to the US.
Yes.
I think then you were trying to get funds for the flight tickets to go.
Yes.
So just tell us between the 2016 when we met you at the World Under 20 in Bydgoszcz in Poland,
Mm-hmm.
to when you finally made it to the United States. How did it happen? How did that? Can you tell us a bit about that period for you?
Okay, so 2016, 2017. So after Poland, I came back. I was at the University of Johannesburg. I completed my 1 year there. I was doing a small business course. But in terms of like the whole process, it was tough. I even had to set up like a page to get some funds because the flight ticket was expensive. But the page like didn't go as well as I thought. Like the period was just so short. So my parents ended up like providing the funds for me, and they ended up like paying for the flight after everything else was paid. And yeah, so my parents came through for me in terms of the flight, and I was on my way to the US.
And since you've been in the US now, what has it been? What was the experience like for you?
Um, it's been a weird experience. It's actually been good because I remember when before I even came to the US, there was a lot of stories that people talk about the US. It's this
Yeah.
kind of place. But once you come here and experience it, especially like the culture here in Texas, the people, they're actually good people. It's fun. Like even at TCU, um, yes, it's a private school. It's a mainly white dominated school, but the people here, they made me feel welcome, especially on the team. It was a bit shaky being from Africa, like they didn't know me, but once we started to get to know each other, we formed actually good friendships and bonds that I can call most of my teammates like brothers. We're just so close, and it's such a family here. But the experience in the US, it's good. We've been traveling around like different meets all around the country, and everywhere we go, like the competition is good, the people are good, the food is good. Like it's just good. You'd have to experience it yourself, firsthand, and
Yeah.
like you'll hear all these stories and all that about the US. But once you come here and actually live here for a few years, you can see that this is actually a good place.
But how about
Yeah,
the training? I mean, you went to University of Johannesburg for a semester, right? Or a whole
yeah,
year?
1 year, a
1
year,
year,
yeah.
right? So
Hmm.
you work with some coaches there back in South Africa. And then
Yes,
you moved to the US now, you're working with a different set of coaching. Now,
yeah.
did you have a kind of culture shock when you got there? Or what's the experience like and what's the transition like from the coaches here to the coaches over there?
Okay, there was a culture shock. It was very different, but I remember my coach now, Coach Anderson at TCU. He's the head coach. He actually asked me before I came, like, what type of workouts you do and like how's the
Yeah.
training and everything. So I told him the workouts I did, and he actually accommodated for me. He actually changed his whole program to like help me and help me be comfortable and transition good into the program. So I told him I do workouts like 600s and stuff like that, and he actually incorporated that into my workout. So um, he made me feel comfortable going in.
Yeah.
But the only thing I would say when I first came here, the first year at TCU, I was struggling with like climatization because it's a similar
Oh, okay.
climate here in Texas and South Africa. It's just I would say Texas is more hot and humid. So I've
Yeah. Yeah.
had occasions where I had to pass out. I passed out
Wow.
actually, and I got IV drips. And even at
Is
nationals, my
that
first
from the
year,
weather or from the assertions of the 400 meters?
I think it's from the weather. And also
Okay.
another thing with me when I first came here with the whole food, like I would eat before training and I wouldn't hydrate so nice. So it was my fault
Oh, okay.
also. I wasn't taking good care of myself in terms of eating. I was just exposed to a new culture, like you said, and a new
Yeah.
environment. So that also messed me up. But I've had occasions where at nationals, I went to the hospital actually after the relay because I was just so dehydrated and my body temperature was so high. I had to go
I
for
think we
IV
actually
drips.
have a bit of that. You've had
Yeah,
quite a good time
I
in
have.
TCU, right?
Yeah, I've had
So
I've had a good meet.
here's you in one of the relays,
Hmm. Yeah,
and
this is
then
indoor.
yeah, that's indoor.
Yeah,
And we also have another one of you.
yeah.
Um, is also this 400 meters flat, right?
This is a 400 meters. Yeah. Hmm. I
And
remember that
also
race.
yeah, and this is another
Yeah, this
good
was
picture.
last. Yeah, this was last year outdoor nationals at University of Texas. Yeah,
Yeah.
this was the prelims for the 400.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
And so I guess this is the same one as well.
Um, I don't think this is the same. It's a 400, but I don't think it's the same meet though. I was looking very stressed there. Ish, it was probably like the
But
last 50
different
meters.
competition.
Yeah, this is different competition. Yeah.
Ah, okay. So I mean, we can say you've had a good time. Um, but then in terms of improvements and competition, how's that been for you?
I've improved a lot since I came to TCU. Like I was coming into TCU, I was a 46.5 guy, and now I'm currently a 45.0 guy. We're still working with the coach to get me to drop to 44 and start like being consistent with 44, so that I can make the Olympics first of all because I need 44.9, 90,
Yeah.
I think, to make the Olympics. And also in order when I get there to start being competitive and making like semifinals, making the final possibly, I would have to be like uh, deep down there in the 44, low 44. So I've improved well. And in terms of like the weight room, I didn't do a lot of gym work in South Africa, but now at TCU, the coach is helping me get stronger and like build more muscle and like more muscle endurance. So I would say I've improved a lot since being in South Africa and come to TCU.
Wow. So if you're looking to look outside the sport now, you're in school, so I know there are a lot of school life and you know also nightlife also that you'll be used to as an athlete, and
Yeah.
also as you go around all these stores. So what do you do when you're not training?
So when I'm not training, like I'm not someone who likes going out a lot. If I must, it will be like for someone's birthday or like New Year's. It has to be an occasion, but for the
Yeah.
most part, I'm indoors, either watching shows on Netflix or I'm trying to like get into reading. I try and read as much as I can, but for the most part, I'm indoors, just trying to like relax, rest my body and all that. But I will go out and hang out with my friends. We play pool a lot. We play soccer and rugby, just throwing the ball around. But yeah, I don't
But
like going out too much.
do you get to eat South African food?
Oh, yes. There's actually a few South African stores, and there's another store. It's called Fiesta, which is like an international store. They have foods from South America, from Africa, from Europe.
Okay.
So we'll go there and get like cornmeal, which is we call it pap in South Africa. I'm sure you guys call it fufu.
Pap. Yeah. It's also
Yeah,
pap also. Yeah.
pap. Okay, good. So yeah,
In
we
West
make
Africa as
that.
well.
Yeah, so we make that. We'll fry our meat. We'll make our curry or our soup. So yeah,
Hmm.
we still have a lot of like South African stuff that we able to experience here in the US. Mhm.
But also, aside of food, do
Yeah.
you have other South African athletes of Southern Africa like Zimbabwe, Botswana, Namibia
Hmm.
that you can also hang out with?
Yes. Here at TCU, there's me and my friend Lebo. We from South Africa, and then there's four other guys from Zimbabwe
Ah,
on the
okay.
track team as well. But then at TCU, we have a few South African, like there's two swimmers from South Africa
Oh,
that we hang
okay.
out with. And then we have another friend of ours, he's from Mpumalanga in South Africa. So we have a few South Africans here, not to mention our friends who, some of them, they came with us, some of them came after us. They're in other universities and colleges all around the US. So we communicate with them. We will FaceTime and all that type of stuff.
So you're not really homesick.
Honestly, no. And since I've came here to the US in 2017, I would go home like once every year.
Wow.
So I honestly haven't been. I think this year I was planning to go home in December, but I don't think so with everything going on.
Yeah, with everything going on and the
Yeah,
protocols of traveling, yes.
exactly. And our coach said, I mean, with the whole academic calendar, we're starting earlier in August and we're finishing in November. So we might have to stay back and train more for the next season in January.
Yeah.
So I honestly, getting back to your question, I haven't had time to be homesick. And plus, I speak to my mom and my dad and my sister on WhatsApp almost like
Yeah.
every day. So I didn't
And
have time to miss
also,
them.
sorry to call you, but I wanted to ask that in the next 2 years now, you're going to be very busy. There's Olympics and there's World Championship also in the US. So
Yes.
you have your hands full with, things to prepare for that. Going home might not even be an early option. But will
Yeah.
you be going for the South African trials, for instance?
Yes. They Athletics South Africa have emphasized that athletes such as myself, if I want to qualify, we have to run the trial. So I was planning to go this year, starting this year, start going because normally I'll just run a fast time and then just send a
Yeah.
letter why I couldn't attend the trials. But now, moving forward, especially like you said, Olympics, World Champs coming up in 2 years, I have to go back to run trials and show because they haven't seen me compete like in a long time.
Yeah.
They just see my time.
I
So
mean, talking about Athletics South Africa, actually, I spoke to the media officer today, Sefiso,
okay,
and he's saying his regards to you,
yeah,
because I told
okay,
him we'll be having a chat this evening. And, and I was just thinking about the fact that you, I think you're aiming for the South African records, isn't it?
yes. It depends which
So,
one you're speaking about. If you're talking about Wade's record,
yeah.
um, in a few years, but
So is
it's
that one of
definitely
your
down the line.
targets for the future?
For sure, yeah. I mean, because there was this one point in my life I was wondering, do I still want to do this? Not saying that I want to quit running, but like, if
Yeah.
you want to continue doing this, you want to be the best, like everyone else. You don't just want to be there to fill up a lane. So definitely, with more training, more experience, for sure, like I would like to reach that level as well.
And also, what is the main target now for 2022, 2021,
2021.
uh, and 2022? Is
Okay,
it
I
the
mean,
Olympics? Because you usually you have the Olympics, you have the World Championship, but also we have the African Games and the Africa Championship within that
yes,
period.
yeah. So definitely my main goal, first of all, is to be done with college because I'm gonna
Yeah.
do my 1 year masters because I have one more season in the NCAA. So
Okay.
speak of the NCAA, I think my biggest goal here is to finish well in the NCAA, make the final outdoor, and probably get top three. And then moving internationally, I would definitely like to go to the African Games, African Champs, finish in the medal positions, as well as making Olympics and world champs. I think I just have to qualify for those first. That's the first step, and then hopefully making finals because I made world champs, the previous world champs, and it was a good experience. But now I have to bridge that gap and transition into that stage where I'm being more competitive on the international stage.
Okay.
Hmm.
So now you just said something about your masters.
Yeah.
And so after the masters, what do you want to do after the sport?
After the sport, so I graduated in May, with my degree in entrepreneurial management. Because someday I would like to own my own business. I have a few business ideas that my business school here at TCU is actually helping me with. So after running, I would definitely like to go into business, gain some experience, work for like a few startup businesses, and then hopefully down the line, work on my own, starting up my own business and having my own like company someday.
Well, will you be returning to South Africa or will you be setting up in the US?
Mm, my plan now, honestly, is to set up in the US. But it honestly boils down to where the opportunity is. If I have a better opportunity in South Africa, then yes, I would go back. But for now, my plan is to stay here in the US, build something of myself, and if all goes well, hopefully be based here in the US as well.
Okay. Last week on this show, we had two people. We had Niger Amos from Botswana and also Mapaseka Makwanya from South Africa.
Hmm.
And one thing I always ask them is, what do they think about the state of athletics in Africa?
Okay.
And, looking at that, what would they advise the people running the sports, how we can grow the sport in the Africa continent? What's
Yeah.
your opinion on that?
So the state of athletics in Africa, I feel like it's still growing, unlike in Europe, where it's established, and in the US, they also like is pretty much established. I feel like one thing our athletics bodies can work on is like trying to bring more meets to Africa, like hosting more diamond leagues. I think we only have one diamond league, right?
Yeah, we only have one in Rabat. And
Rabat, exactly.
this year we're supposed to have a continental tour in Nairobi.
Okay.
And the last I heard is been pushed now to September.
Yeah.
Hopefully, nothing will change that, but then
Hmm.
we don't know yet.
Yeah.
So it's just one continental tour and one Diamond League.
Yeah. So because we have a lot of countries with good climate and good like weather and conditions, so I feel like we need to have more meets in Africa. Yes, Europe, people go there because there's like lots of money to be made there, but I feel
Yeah.
like in order to bring awareness to the sport, we need to host it ourselves and show that we can also like have meets and have athletes come here and compete, because I know in South Africa we have a lot of good stadiums where guys can come and compete and run fast. So I think the main thing is just being able to host meets and like show that we can also be on our own, not just depending on like Europe for meets and like the US and all that. So yeah, hosting more international meets.
Yeah. But also, even outside the IW of World Athletics events, the Confederation of Athletics also, and the national federations should be able to host at least one or two top class meets every year within their countries as well. Because
Exactly.
what is happening, the African athletes are now moving around the continent competing. And that's
Hmm.
a major problem. So for athletes who are based at home, they don't actually get enough competitions throughout the
Exactly.
year.
Hmm.
So to change that, do you think it boils down to the government, or do you think corporate companies in Africa need to step up and also support these federations and individuals trying to organize these events?
Yeah, I feel like all parties involved should play a role, like you said, corporates and also the government. I mean, these athletes are representing the country. Like when they go
Yeah.
on that stage and they do well, they like showing off the country and like giving a name for the country. Like for example, Wade winning Olympics and world champs and
Olympic
breaking the
gold,
world
yeah.
record. That was big for South Africa. So I feel like they should support not just him, but support other athletes trying to do what he's
Yeah.
doing and like the sport, like track and field, because we're still growing. Like in Africa, soccer is the main thing, and governments and like people, they just love soccer and put so much support behind that. So if they can do the same thing with track and field, even though it's not as big and as popular, like I feel like we can get to that stage where now we also up there with other countries and like other continents who are taking us seriously.
As a kid who grew up in South Africa, what was your first love? Was it track and field, or was it what sport was it?
It was honestly soccer. I grew up playing, like I said, my dad got us into track and field at 7, but soccer is my number one love because that's the main thing I play with my friends in the streets and my other siblings. Like soccer, there was always a soccer ball around. I was always kicking it. Yeah.
So you didn't dabble in rugby or
Rugby,
cricket?
no. I mean, cricket, yes. In primary, cricket was another sport that I played and I loved. But rugby, I can remember in high school, my principal, and he was also my the athletics and cross country coach. He asked me to play like a few games for rugby because he said I was fast, but I was just too scared. I didn't want to get injured or like have someone tackle me, then I break something. So because I'm a skinny guy. Even now, I'm still like skinny as compared to the other guy. So rugby, I never played with rugby.
So how did you get into track and field then?
Track and field, like I said, my dad got me and my sisters into running. But then when I moved into high school, that's when my coach he experimented with me because I was more of a cross country guy coming out of
Yeah.
primary. But then he saw that I was quick and I had a lot of endurance, and then he made me start doing the 400. He saw I could do the 200, and then later, sometime in grade 10, I did the 400-meter hurdles for like one or 2 years, and then finally my senior year of high school, that's when I went back to the 400 and I started doing good in it, and I've been doing it ever since.
So if a kid walk up to you and said, Derrick, please, what do I need to do to be a good 400-meter runner? What will you tell them?
A kid, I would say you need a strong base, you need a lot of endurance, and you need a strong core. So I would advise them to do like long runs, do a few long runs every day, make sure your core is right. Because I feel like with me, with the 400, I don't have a lot of speed. That's the next thing that I'm working on now. I feel like that's something that's going to help me be good, working on my speed. But I feel like if you have endurance and a good
Yeah.
base and like a strong core, that's going to help you become, because the 400 is not an easy event. It's the same like the 800. Like you need
Yeah.
like to be very strong to do that event. So I would say just working on your endurance and your core strength. That's the main thing for me.
So, but you still did the 200, right?
I still do the 200. Just for speed, it helps me with my speed. I don't do it because it's something that I want to do. I just do it because I know it's going to help me with the 400. But another event that I might start looking into is the 800.
Oh, okay.
I'm leaning more towards the 800 than being a 2-4 guy.
800 is quite competitive in South Africa. You have quite
It
a lot of
is.
good guys running that.
It is. It is. But I feel like if I could like increase my endurance a little bit more, even though I have a lot of endurance now, I feel like I could do something in the 800. But for now, I'm sticking with the 400. I want to run the 400 as much as I can.
So with Dwayne coming to form now, what are the chances of the South African 4x400 meters team in major competitions next year?
Yeah, I feel like we still need a few relay camps to get used to each other. I
Okay.
mean, the 4x4 isn't as complicated as the 4x1, but
Yeah.
if we could like get together a few times, just get comfortable with each other, I feel like South Africa, we have a good chance of making any final and also being up there like in medal contention, because we have a lot of good guys. We have a lot of good guys, and if we just on the day like put our heads in it and like be focused, I feel like we can do something big with the 4x4, just like our 4x1 is doing at the moment. So
Yeah. So
mhm.
on the last note, before we close the show,
Okay.
what would be your advice to Africans administrators, coaches, in the light of all these disruptions? What would you like to say?
Okay, I'll just say like continue what they're doing now. They're pretty like smart and calm with the whole like situation that's happening around the world. So I'll just say continue being calm, make smart decisions, and always put the athletes first, because at the end of the day, um, there's no sport without the athletes. So whatever decisions they make, just consider the athletes. Don't make rash decisions, because I even saw today that our association is not like allowing our athletes to do international competitions, because I feel like that's smart, especially with everything going on now. We should wait for the dust to settle and then move forward with better decisions. So yeah,
Yeah.
just continue doing what they're doing now.
Thank you so much for coming. And, it was really nice to have you on the show. And it's, for us, it's important that we also hear from the athletes. And
Yeah.
your voice is very important to what we're trying to do. And I think for the administrators too, I hope they're watching. It's good to listen to what the athletes have to say, because without the athletes, there's no sport really. And
Yeah.
that's one thing that I personally think the administrators and most of them don't really understand, and that this sport is not for them but for the athletes. So
Exactly.
I wish you all the best in your program going to next year and 2022, and I hope to see you on the circuit and also on the African Games or the Olympics next year.
All right.
Thank you
Thank
so
you for
much for
having me.
coming. All right.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you. So that's it for another edition of Bètá Convo. And please, if you're watching, please click the subscribe button and like button on this video. We need your help to push this channel up. And please subscribe to this channel. And also our podcast, the audio is also going to be on our podcast from tomorrow. Please subscribe to the podcast, like if you're on Apple, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. Please support Athletics Africa. And if you'd like to support us with some money as well, please, on this field, you can also make some donations to the channel as well on YouTube. Thank you so much. Next week, we're going to bring you someone else. Same time, 6 o'clock, 6:30 GMT +1 on next week, Sunday. So thank you so much for joining Bètá Convo on Athletics Africa. Till next week, have a lovely week. Bye.